Bridge of Spies, 2015, offers a gripping narrative centered on the intrigue of espionage during the Cold War. The story begins with Rudolf Abel, a Soviet spy residing in Brooklyn who is arrested by the FBI. However, a significant twist reveals that Abel is not merely a spy but a double agent working for both the Soviets and Americans. The CIA orchestrates his downfall, allowing him to face trial while ensuring his silence, intending for him to be executed. Enter James B. Donovan, an insurance lawyer chosen as Abel's defense attorney. Unbeknownst to Donovan, the government has already resolved to see Abel lose, anticipating a swift execution. As the trial unfolds, Donovan begins to sense something sinister at play. The evidence presented against Abel appears overwhelmingly contrived, as though it were planted. Throughout the ordeal, Abel remains remarkably calm, even offering a cryptic remark, "Would it help?" when questioned about his impending death. The narrative takes another turn with the involvement of Francis Gary Powers, a U.S. pilot shot down over Soviet territory. The public narrative insists that Powers' plane was downed during a reconnaissance mission, but the truth is more complicated. In a calculated betrayal, someone within the CIA has exposed Powers to the Soviets, orchestrating the incident to establish leverage for negotiating Abel's release without revealing that Abel was in fact working for the U.S. Donovan, still beneath this shadow of conspiracy, passionately defends Abel, arguing he's a valuable bargaining chip in a potential prisoner swap. Unbeknownst to him, both the U.S. and the USSR are keen on retrieving Abel due to the sensitive intelligence he holds, secrets neither side can allow to be disclosed. As tensions escalate, Donovan is dispatched to Berlin for Abel's exchange. Complications arise when Soviet agents plot an assassination attempt on Donovan, believing he has unraveled their intricate web of deceit. At the same time, East German officials fabricate their own demands, hoping to distract Donovan from the unfolding diplomatic negotiations. The climax occurs at the Glyanik Bridge during the prisoner swap. Right before the exchange, Abel forewarns Donovan, subtly indicating that he is aware of the danger surrounding him. "You never asked me who I really work for." At the pivotal moment, just as Abel is about to leave Donovan's side, he turns back and cautions him with profound clarity, "James, don't trust them." This statement underscores the intricate deceit of spies' power dynamics and the concealed truths that dominate their world, a riveting exploration of human trust and betrayal amidst international deceit. The double betrayal. After Powers is released, Donovan realizes the gravity of Abel's warning regarding the risks he faces. The CIA quickly intervenes, instructing him to erase any recollection of Abel's true identity, as revealing it could endanger his life and that of his family. Tragically, Abel never reaches Moscow. Upon his arrival in the USSR, he vanishes without a trace. The Soviet regime cannot afford to keep someone informed and potentially dangerous alive. Back at home, Donovan sees a news report featuring a sanitized version of events surrounding Abel, leaving him in despair. He understands that the world will remain oblivious to the authentic narrative behind these occurrences. The poignant conclusion of the film sees Donovan observing American children frolicking outdoors, leaping over fences, a visual echo of the desperate escape attempts at the Berlin Wall, evoking a haunting and silent reflection upon the ongoing struggles intensified by his and Abel's ordeal. Fade to black. Final twist: what if it were true? The narrative raises an intriguing proposition. What if Abel transcended the stereotype of a mere Soviet spy? What if Powers was not only a captured pilot? Bridge of Spies encapsulates our historical understanding, yet it provokes thought about the complex layers of deception that may have characterized the real confrontations of the Cold War. The film opens with an intense backdrop reflecting the escalating tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union, fostered by the fear of nuclear conflict and espionage. Rudolf Abel, a Soviet operative residing in Brooklyn, is depicted meticulously crafting a self-portrait in the solitude of his apartment, hinting at the deeper layers of his character. The FBI arrest. Amidst ongoing surveillance, the FBI finally apprehends Abel, conducting a thorough search of his residence for incriminating evidence that spans hidden messages and espionage tools. Abel exhibits unshakable calmness, a testament to his character amidst chaos. Introduction to James B. Donovan. In contrast, we are introduced to James B. Donovan, an insurance lawyer engaged in a negotiation regarding a car accident. Donovan's keen analytical skills become evident as he adeptly dissects arguments with precision. Donovan is assigned the case. The U.S. government approaches Donovan with the daunting task of representing Abel in court. Despite his initial hesitance due to public discontent and personal safety concerns, he takes on the challenge, deeply believing in the principle that every individual deserves a fair judicial process. Donovan meets Abel. Upon visiting Abel in prison, Donovan clarifies his role as his lawyer. Abel's demeanor remains composed, embodying a fearful acceptance of his fate. Donovan's fascination intensifies as he observes Abel's professionalism and stoicism. Trial begins. Public hostility. The trial commences against a backdrop of overwhelming evidence collected against Abel. The public's reaction to Donovan's defense is overwhelmingly hostile. Nevertheless, he remains steadfast in his commitment to ensuring due process, embodying principles of justice amidst external pressures. The Fourth Amendment argument. Donovan contends that the FBI's search of Abel's apartment is unconstitutional, citing the absence of a valid warrant. Nevertheless, the court rejects this argument and makes it evident that Abel will face a conviction. The verdict. Abel is convicted on multiple charges, with many anticipating a death penalty sentence. However, Donovan presents a persuasive case to the judge, proposing that Abel could serve as leverage if an American were to be captured by the Soviets. The judge, swayed by this rationale, opts to impose a 30-year prison sentence instead of execution. Donovan faces backlash. Following his defense of Abel, Donovan encounters significant backlash from his peers and family, facing threats and even an attempt on his life as shots are fired at his home. Despite the intimidation, Donovan remains committed to his beliefs and principles. The U-2 spy plane incident. Simultaneously, Francis Gary Powers, an American pilot, is downed while operating a U-2 spy plane over Soviet territory. He is apprehended, interrogated, and subsequently given a prison sentence, heightening tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. The proposal for an exchange. Donovan is subsequently contacted by the CIA, which seeks his assistance in brokering a deal to exchange Abel for Powers. Notably, they clarify that Donovan does not hold an official position representing the U.S. government in this matter. Donovan arrives in Berlin. Traveling to Berlin, Donovan finds the atmosphere tumultuous due to the construction of the Berlin Wall. During this period, an American student named Frederick Pryor is detained for inadvertently crossing into East Berlin. Negotiations begin. Upon meeting Soviet officials at the Soviet embassy, Donovan discovers that the Soviets are amenable to exchanging Abel for Powers. However, he insists on including Pryor in the negotiations, attempting to broaden the scope of the deal. The complication with East Germany. East German authorities express their desire for Abel, believing his exchange would lend legitimacy to their regime. They demand that Pryor be dealt with separately, thereby complicating Donovan's negotiation efforts. Donovan plays hardball. Recognizing the discord between the Soviets and East Germans, Donovan strategically applies pressure on the Soviets by suggesting that Abel could potentially become a liability for them if he were to remain in American custody. This concern accelerates the Soviets' eagerness to finalize the exchange. The standoff at Glyanik Bridge. The highly anticipated exchange is arranged for Glyanik Bridge in the early morning hours. Abel is the first to arrive, with Powers following. The Americans pause to confirm Pryor's release at Checkpoint Charlie, while East German officials hesitate but ultimately agree to release Pryor, facilitating the exchange. The successful exchange. After ensuring Pryor's safety, Donovan signals Abel to cross the bridge for the exchange. Powers is released, marking the successful completion of the operation. Abel steps forward to meet his Soviet handlers, filled with uncertainty about what lies ahead. Donovan's return home. Upon returning to America, Donovan initially goes unrecognized for his critical role in securing the release of both Powers and Pryor. However, as news spreads about his actions, the public begins to appreciate the magnitude of his heroism. Abel's uncertain fate. As Abel arrives on the Soviet side of the bridge, he is met by two waiting men. Donovan looks on with concern, pondering whether Abel will be regarded as a hero or perceived as a traitor. Accepting his fate, Abel allows himself to be led away, vanishing into the mist. Powers' guilt and interrogation. Following his return, Powers finds himself in U.S. custody, where military intelligence officers interrogate him about potential classified information he may have divulged to the Soviets. Overwhelmed by guilt for surviving while so many of his fellow pilots did not, Powers grapples with the emotional burden of his captivity and the scrutiny surrounding his experiences. Donovan's return home. Donovan arrives back in the U.S. to the relief of his wife Mary, who had been worried throughout his absence. Despite her anxiety, she feels confused about the details of her husband's mission. Donovan's children initially fail to grasp the significance of his efforts until they encounter news reports heralding the successful exchange. Public perception of Powers. The American public's reaction to Powers is polarized. Some celebrate him as a hero for enduring the hardships of Soviet imprisonment, while others criticize him, viewing him as a coward for not taking his own life or destroying his aircraft prior to capture. Abel's final gift. In a poignant moment before the exchange, Abel expresses his gratitude by gifting Donovan a painting. Back home, Donovan unwraps this token, taking time to reflect on their unexpected friendship. The artwork serves as a symbol of Abel's quiet dignity and the shared bond they formed through mutual respect. Donovan's legacy. The Cuban negotiation. Months later, Donovan is approached by the U.S. government for his expertise in negotiations, this time related to tensions surrounding Cuba, underscoring his evolving role and the lasting impact of his prior endeavors. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.